Hey Pilates Queens, Kayla Brugger here with Pilates Body by Kayla. As a Pilates instructor, I am often told I cannot do Pilates because I don't have a studio near me or it is just simply too expensive. I'm here to tell you that that is completely false, and I want to share with you my top at-home pieces of Pilates equipment that are super inexpensive, and these are all available to you on Amazon. The number one piece of equipment you need to do Pilates at home is an exercise mat. The good news is these mats are compact. They can roll up really tight and you can just shove them right underneath your bed for easy storage. I love the EcoWise exercise mat because, for one, it's eco-friendly and made with natural materials. Two, it has got a sticky surface, which is super important for Pilates because we're doing a lot of movements on our back, rolling up and down. So that stickiness is important, that the mat doesn't move around, especially if you're on a hardwood surface. Also, the thickness of this mat, you can see it's got some extra cushion, which is super important when doing Pilates exercises because we do a lot of spinal rolling. And if you do not have a thick cushion mat, it's not going to feel very good on your back. So let me go ahead and demonstrate a few Pilates exercises and why this mat is my favorite Pilates exercise mat. Starting with the simple roll back in Pilates, like I mentioned, we do a ton of spinal rolling, working our body with control. A lot of times if mats are slippery in spinal rolling movements or coming up and down, they can kind of stretch or give way or slide back and forth on the floor, which we don't want. We want to make sure that we're working on precision of how our body is moving and not having to worry about the mat moving. Coming into a kneeling position, we do a lot of stuff kneeling, so that extra cushion again is not just for your spine. You can see we need a lot of wrist support, a lot of knee support, especially when we're working into planks or some hovering tabletop positions. My wrists are supported, my toes and knees are supported. It feels very good on my joints. And this mat is inexpensive. I've used this mat in particular for over 3 years now. It has almost zero wear and tear. And again, I love the stickiness, the eco-friendly materials, and how the mat stays in place through each Pilates movement. Now let's talk about resistance bands. There are so many resistance bands out there. Well, what is best for Pilates? I recommend the loop style resistance bands. And if you're able to get both an elastic set and a fabric set, these ones are fun because they come in this little easy travel carrying bag. Well, the fabric bands are gonna be best used for lower body exercises because they have less of a chance of rolling, whereas the elastic bands, they're gonna tend to roll up a little bit and kind of pinch your skin, and that gets pretty uncomfortable. So I prefer these bands for core exercises or upper body exercises. Now let me show you a few exercises on how I like to use the elastic bands with upper body movements. So each color is actually a different resistance. So it goes from light to extra heavy. So for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm just gonna use a light resistance band, hooking one end around the foot, and then the other hand is gonna grab hold. Being a nice and strong here, really working on posture and upper body, coming into a bicep curl, and then just adding a little lift to get in some extra leg work here. Core is strong, keeping that arm hugged in. So you can see, even though this is a light resistance, I'm not able to curl it up very hard because it is still very strong. Now you can see how this band likes to roll. So if this was around my legs doing some lower body exercises, it would tend to roll up, and that's where I prefer the fabric bands more. Well, for some core exercises, we can put the band around our feet, and it's a little bit better able to control that rolling when you keep the band taut with resistance. Oh, just coming into a bicycle leg press out, holding your chest lift here and keeping tension and resistance, pushing one leg forward, really focusing on holding the abdominals in and up, feeling that activation, going nice and wide and being really in control of the movement. You can see how the band is not rolling, but if I lose that resistance, the band might start to roll on the foot, as you can see. Now, demonstrating how the fabric bands work for lower body exercises, specifically in a clamshell or a side step lunge. Coming into some nice glute activation here, really holding upright, heels together, opening and externally rotating into the top leg. We can really feel the upper outer glute firing up, and right away you can see this band is strong. Legs are stronger than our upper body, so of course these fabric bands also have a little bit more resistance than the elastic bands. I'm showing how I would demo this in a standing position. Coming into a squat, holding nice and low here, and doing a little side step out for a little bit of that abduction here, really keeping tension in the band. Again, no chance of this band rolling. So I recommend having both the fabric and the elastic style bands for many different purposes. However, if you only want to invest in one set of bands, I would definitely recommend going with the elastic bands. You get 5 different resistances, and you can use them around your legs, but there's just gonna be a little bit more chance of that rolling, but they are a little bit more dual purpose. Because these bands have so much resistance, they are a lot more challenging to use for upper body exercises. Let's talk about a Pilates ball or a mini ball. These come in many different sizes. This is a 7.5 inch and this is a 12-inch size. There is an in-between size, which is a 10-inch size. If you are not wanting to get 2 mini balls, I recommend just getting the middle of the road 10-inch size, but I prefer the different sizes for different types of exercises. I specifically will use the bigger size ball more with my postpartum mamas for core work, if we're working on getting back into sit-ups for support behind the back, which I will show you. A smaller ball is going to bring in more advanced work. I also love using the balls for breath work, bringing more activation to our inner thighs and our pelvic floor. So let me show you how I would use both of these balls in certain scenarios with clients. So starting with the bigger ball first, can just start with some reclined core work here. So coming into a resting leg position on the ball, but we just don't want to be relaxed through our core. We want to feel like we're drawing our abdominals into the ball. So you can see as I'm supported upright here, my abdominals are drawing back, my tummy muscles are scooping, and shoulders are relaxed. And I'm using the ball to actually draw into and lift up, inflating the ball to its highest point, keeping those tummy muscles contracted. Now you can also use the ball to work on enhancing spinal extension, which the bigger ball is going to offer more stretch if you're coming into a back bend-like position. Oh my gosh, that feels so good. And coming back up, really getting that core activation again as you're drawing back into the ball. Now using the smaller ball for more inner thigh activation, pelvic floor work, and breath work, gently placing the ball between the knees. Start with a big breath in, working into that 3-dimensional Pilates breathing. And then as you're exhaling, you want to draw into the ball, giving it some resistance, really feeling that feedback in between the legs, the core, the pelvic floor, and inner thighs. Exhaling as you're squeezing together, almost like you're turning the ball into a pancake. Now you can also keep that activation of the inner thighs and start to work into some lower ab work with the ball, imagining that the ball has some weight to it. As we're doing some double toe taps here, you can see the lower core is really firing up. I've got that leg connection, working on precision and breath work with the movements here. Now, let me show you 2 other ways that I really like to use the mini ball in a non-traditional Pilates way for some upper body work here. Is placing the ball underneath one hand, coming into a modified push-up position. The body would elongate, shoulders would drop back. This creates some instability underneath the arms, so that really makes the muscles in your shoulders and your back and core activate as you're coming down into a push-up. Really keeps the body honest and in check here. So the mini balls are a really great tool to activate our stabilizers. Now coming back to the bigger ball, I like to use the bigger ball for more of glute and hamstring work, as well as we're putting the ball behind the knee and getting more of that feedback of really squeezing the heel to the seat. Feel my hamstring really activated and then coming up into a donkey kick here. Have to keep that connection through the whole back line of the body. And also, as you're seeing how I'm lifting up, I'm not dropping into my lower back. So the core is engaged, and I get that really good feedback of my heel to seat connection, which is that hamstring glute activating right in the crease of the seat. Now, these are just a few ways of how I would use the mini ball, but this is such a great tool, and it is also very small and compact, so you can just pop out the plug, deflate it, put it in your suitcase if you want to travel with it, or if you need to store it away in your home, you can just tuck it into a drawer. Now, I also want to talk about the material of this ball specifically. As you saw when I was putting all my body weight down on the ball, they're durable. They don't completely deflate. It creates resistance within the ball, within the work. Some of the other mini balls on the market, they're too thin. So if you go and you squeeze, you're gonna kind of feel the opposite end of the ball, where this one specifically creates that resistance and that give so those muscles stay working. So you may have seen some Pilates instructors working with a ring or a circle. I like to call it a magic circle. But this is very specific in the Pilates industry because it creates resistance with your body weight, and we really use it to enhance posture or isolate specific muscle groups. I love the circle for so many reasons, but one of the biggest reasons is not only for squeezing in, but you can also create outward resistance as well. So I'll show you a couple of my favorite exercises and how you can do both. I also love this circle specifically because the handles are super padded and the protective sleeve around the steel ring stays in place. It doesn't slide or wrinkle, which is super important. I've been using this circle for almost 3 years and it still has a lot of give and resistance to it. This is not really meant to be used for building an immense amount of strength because I could probably crush and break this circle. So it's really used to enhance muscle connections and breath work within your body. So let me demonstrate how I like to use this circle with squeezing in for my arms and my legs. So starting with an inner thigh adduction, drawing energy, adding energy and resistance into the body. You'd place it about mid inner thigh, making sure you're avoiding your knees. That never feels very good. Just really nice and tall. You can also be sitting on a chair for this, but just letting those knees open really wide, and then as you're exhaling, drawing in together. Inhaling to open and then exhale, drawing in together. So same thing, using that for arm positioning. Just holding the circle. I like to imagine myself as a ballerina here, really working rolled back shoulders, really good posture, core engagement. And again, using your exhale to draw in and up. I always like to say that the Pilates circle is meant to enhance the connection to your powerhouse or your core muscles. We always refer to our core muscles in Pilates as our powerhouse muscles. Now to demonstrate how we could use this working the other way into our abductors or outer thighs and outer glutes. So in a nice side lying position, can take one foot inside the circle and one leg on top of the circle, and really working with our upper outer glute to press up and away and resist into the circle. You can see I'm not getting a whole lot of range of motion, but holy moly, am I feeling my glutes activate. I'm also really aware of my body alignment as well. Now, one other super fun way I love to use the Pilates circle with clients and myself personally is for push-ups. Push-ups are really challenging, and the circle is gonna provide support in our midsection to help keep our pelvis and our core engaged. So as you're setting up, we wanna position the circle right underneath your belly button, keeping those lower tummy muscles connected. And the circle's gonna act like a little bit of a spring. As you bend your elbows, you keep your core engaged. The circle helps keep your hips level so you're not dropping, because the circle is gonna give you that feedback, and pressing back up. Trying to keep the energy of the push-up in your back, chest, and core versus your shoulders. Again, keeping those hips super level. I love working with the Pilates circle in so many different ways. This is probably my all-time favorite piece of Pilates equipment for at-home use. Ankle weights or weighted bangles have gained more popularity in the Pilates scene in recent years because they can really help build strength in our legs and upper body. I love this set of bangles because it's super adjustable, super stretchy, and also these little triangles, they can be individually removed. So they come as a 2-pound weight, but the more you remove, obviously, the less resistance that you're going to have. They're super easy to put onto with the stretch. You just wrap them around. They're also super cute and fashionable, showing how one can go around your wrist as well. Now, let me demonstrate a couple movements through the legs and the arms here, coming into a tabletop position. Working into a traditional bird dog or spinal balance here as you're extending out, keeping the core engaged. You can add a little elbow to knee squeeze, creating more of that resistance and instability in the body with extra weight. You can also work on lifting in tabletop position. Nice to come into some of that side leg raising. Can do a lot of this standing as well, increasing work in your core with the legs up. Obviously, if I had both weights on, that would bring extra load into the abdomen, making core exercises a little bit more of a challenge. Now, I love this set specifically because of the removable weights, and they're super easy to put back on as needed, but the material is silicone, so these are super easy to wipe down and clean after you get super sweaty from your Pilates workouts. And again, these are super compact, so super easy to store and even pack with you, but make sure your suitcase doesn't get over 50 pounds, right? Now, one at-home piece of Pilates equipment that may not be seen as a Pilates piece of equipment is a foam roller. This is such an amazing tool that you can do so much with other than just rolling out your muscles. This is an extra firm, extra dense foam roller. So depending on if you like that for rolling your muscles, you can use that for Pilates as well. But for some of the exercises that I'm gonna show where we are lying down on our back, the extra firm can be a little bit uncomfortable on your spine. So you may want to go with a softer density roller. I also highly recommend getting a 36-inch foam roller no matter what you're using this thing for. It's so much better to have the extra length of the roller. So a couple ways I like to use this roller specifically for back stretching and spinal extension is to place the roller at or below your shoulder blades, and then just bringing your hands behind your head, coming back into a nice supported spinal extension. This feels amazing on the upper back and neck. You get a nice stretch across the chest and shoulders, and you get a little ab work here as you're coming up, feeling those core muscles draw in, and you wanna lift just enough that you can kind of feel like the roller's about to slip out to feel those tummy muscles fire up. This is super good for mobility, and if you're a desk sitter, to kind of reverse that forward rolling of the shoulders. You could also add a little bit more intense core work here, coming into a cross or a straight leg reach and just working into some different abdominal variations as the roller adds some instability into the core work, making those tummy muscles work a little bit harder. Now showing how we would lie on the roller, doing some abdominal work as well. And this is why we want that 36-inch roller so our head is supported. Hands are gonna come down, and the roller gives us really good feedback into our spinal alignment. Knees will come up to your chest, and right away you can feel the instability, which is gonna make your core muscles activate right away. We wanna try to keep everything as steady as possible. Could go into a leg extension or just keeping the knees bent, working on some bicycle legs here, alternating. The further you have your arms away, the more unstable it's going to be. The closer you have your arms in, the more stability it's going to be. You want to maintain what we call imprinted spine, so that's where the roller is really nice to give that feedback as the legs begin to move and you add that load into your center. Whoo, almost fell off there. Coming down and up with the legs, adding that additional core work. You could also go into a nice scissors here. So there's so many different variations, and I show a lot of these in my deep abs core workout with the foam roller. Now again, This is extra dense, so I started to feel a little crunchy in my lower back, sacral joint there. So if you're wanting to use this for rolling purposes and Pilates purposes, I would highly recommend getting a softer density roller versus the higher density roller. Last but not least are gliding discs. These are also super compact, super inexpensive, and you can easily store these in your suitcase or in a drawer at home, tucking them away. These are super versatile for exercises like planks and lunges, so I'll demonstrate a couple of those. I like to point out that these come in a plastic version now, which is suitable for carpet and hardwood, so I highly recommend, which I have dropped that in the notes. So part of my plank circuits that I like to do with the gliders is putting both feet on, coming into that hovering tabletop and pushing out and in. Pushing out and in, creating more of that resistance and instability. You can also go into some single leg slides out and in, or adding some double leg slides, mountain climbers here as well. I'll make sure that you catch my full plank sliders workout where I demonstrate all of these exercises in a full workout. Also showing how we can use these in a standing position. And this is really nice because it mimics a lot of what you would see on a reformer with spring resistance, creating that solid base of the platform of the reformer, but then also adding that instability to it as you're coming down into a lunge and coming back in. Really loading the front leg, getting that feedback and stability in your standing leg. So working into a side lunge here, gliding out and in, just keeping very little weight on that gliding disc. Now I love these discs again for so many reasons, because they're so versatile and they can really help build strength and body awareness between your right sides and your left sides. No more excuses for Pilates being too expensive. I just showed you all my favorite top at-home inexpensive pieces of Pilates equipment. If you are looking to invest in just 3 pieces, my number 1 being the Pilates Circle, number 2 being a Pilates Ball, and number 3 being ankle weights or bangles. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and leave a comment letting me know your favorite piece of at-home Pilates equipment.